A warm welcome, as always, to Football Pass. On the agenda today, Celtic. The pluses, and dare I say, the minuses. A quad treble, though, is nothing to sniff at. And to discuss Celtic, who better than the former glory boy, the striker supreme, Charlie Nicholas. Delighted to have Charlie on Football Pass. Charlie, welcome to this chat, and indeed a little run through what you think is the achievement of winning the Scottish Cup final against Hearts in dramatic fashion, and obviously with that, making it the quad treble, the historic quad treble. Big achievement, no?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a fantastic achievement. I mean, Lenny's went into a band of one, which is unique because of that title. But we know Celtic have had the problems. This was brought into, in my opinion, I'm taking nothing away from Lenny. I know he's won the last five. Maybe lucky at the weekend, maybe lucky against Rangers in the League Cup final last year. But under Lenny, what they've got is that although I can maybe broaden on it a little bit later as the chat goes on, that it's not been as impressive. Brendan Rodgers started it. He started the dominance. He beat everything in front of him. The Invincibles came. And in fairness, you know, he left an absolutely magnificent machine behind him. Now, Lenny never changed much. They came in, he did the right thing. I didn't think it was the right way for Celtic to go, if I'm being honest. But they decided to go with Lenny, who'd been there before, because there wasn't a lot to probably change. And for that reason, they helped him get over the line the first two or three. But the last couple has been an ultimate just dig your heels and graft, which I think probably Lenny is probably famous for. He's a real battler. He never gives up, and his team has shown that persona of his personality. So, no, I congratulate him. I don't see it as it's an amazing achievement for the players, and sometimes the players and people like myself and ex-players are critical of them. I think it's because of jealousy. I'm not jealous. I want Celtic to win, but we are envious. I truly, admit that. I'm envious of what these guys have achieved, and sometimes it's not been, stardust and five-star performances, but I acknowledge them completely. I mean, it's history. They made it happen, and I congratulate them all for that, but it's envy, not jealousy.
Yeah, as you rightly point out, perhaps the one at the weekend was by hook and crook in the end, wasn't it? And actually, as you again rightly point out, the League Cup final win over Rangers was even a little bit more than lucky. It was on another day, might well have gone against them. So he maybe has had the rub of the dice once or twice.
Well, that's it. I mean, sometimes when things were going bad in Europe and going bad in the league, and let's be fair. I mean, after the Ross County dismissal in the last cup competition, or the first of this season, normally the Celtic manager in these circumstances is out the door. So he's been fortunate on the timing of the 10 in a row, and obviously the Scottish Cup that came up for the weekend for the historic quadruple treble. So I can get that. I can understand that. But the standards have started to slip, and Rangers' challenge came on last season, albeit it collapsed in February in the league. But the threat was there, the menace was there, the warning to Celtic was there, to Lenny, the board, and the players. And they've not really gathered it. Rangers have started to come in and give them problems, give them headaches, and their form's dipped, and their standards have dropped. I can understand how form can go out the window sometimes, but a lot of these players have been accused of downing tools. Now, I don't see that. I just see them playing poorly. I see them lacking confidence, and I see Lenny being insecure in his choices of his formation, his team, his starting 11. And because of that, that brings the pressure that Celtic itself creates. Rangers have had it, and Gerrard has been through it, but they haven't won anything yet, and Celtic keep winning everything. And the criticism that comes with what they've achieved has been created by themselves, and that's a compliment, although it probably doesn't feel it at the time.
Yeah. What about the signings, whether they were Lenny signings or the club's signings, just picking through perhaps the last half a dozen or so, which haven't altogether been cheap by certainly Scottish and even Celtic standards. I'm thinking only really Christopher Jullien has perhaps repaid the transfer fee. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think it's a fairness in that, Matt, to be honest. I got a bit of hammering on social media about 5-6 weeks ago for being critical of the team. And my suggestion was it was a cheap way into the market. And the wording of cheap wasn't to do with the cost. It's to do with the personality and the player you're going for and the position you're going for. And I thought Celtic were very lazy in the assumption that says we want to keep specific players. There was 4 or 5 players, and still is, that wanted out the club and would have happily have gone if the right offer came in for them. But they made that sound such a success story, and I didn't feel it was. I felt there was issues within the dressing room that you could see the evidence was there in their performances. And I think that's still the case. But I think this drive to get the history over the line last weekend has probably taken that pain away a little bit. But now it's back to reality. Now it's back to catching Rangers, who are massively in front of them, okay, with 3 games in hand. All of a sudden, Aberdeen are level in points. Hibs were above them for a spell at the weekend. So the danger and the belief truly begins now. And those signings that you mentioned, there's lots of them that have come in, and they've just not been at the level. If you're bringing numbers in and spending 15, 16 million, they have to be better than what's already there. And he's hardly used any of them. And then the biggest problem for me was last season. Fraser Foster was brilliant for them last season. And they knew that they had to make a decision to get him sorted out quickly. And then they spent £5 million on a goalkeeper where it didn't make any sense. Now they kept the number 2 and they let Craig Gordon go. We've seen him play pretty well at the weekend. So it's just been a mess, and I thought it was cheap. Probably the cheapness that I was referring to, people took the wrong way as numbers and finance. I just thought it was cheaply done by the way they went and picked him. And it wasn't done of a real high-class standard that says, I want to do well in Europe. I want to make my impression in Europe. And, of course, the domestic situation for going 10 in a row will take care of itself. The drive was there. It wasn't there. It's been lacking. And now they have to play catch-up.
Well, that would be the biggest worry, would it not? That when you've got that big an objective, that historic a chance. I mean, it's not like you get many goes at a 10 in a row. So for the team to underperform in those circumstances is a worry.
Oh, it's been a vast worry. It's been a vast worry for a lot of people. The real hardcore Celtic fans, they're so mixed. They've been over the top in some of their reactions. But you have to give them their place. These are the people who are the spirit and the soul of the football club. The owners are the landlord and the janitor. If these people don't turn up, they've got nothing. And, I can take my criticism from them, and Neil has to take his, and the players have to take theirs. And the owners have to, the so-called owners, have to take care of theirs. And you have to keep, Matt, and when we even worked and we both have in the English Premier League, the top teams always strengthen when they're at their strongest, because you have to keep the profile and the standards high. You don't go lazy on it. And for me, Celtic have went lazy, not just with the signings, where they went about it. And this is not a punishment for Neil Lennon in terms of what I'm saying here, but they were coached every day without fail by Brendan Rodgers. Thorough in every way he went about it. And in enjoyment, they got on the ball and made it pass. Sure, sometimes it might have been a wee bit too square for people, and he didn't have a brilliant record in Europe. But then Neil has changed it a little bit, and it doesn't really look as if it's got a fluency, a rhythm. They're awkward in the ball. Europe's been a problem. So that's where the criticism comes from. That's the justification of being a giant club. If you're not at the standard that you once were, you're going to get hit. And if you don't get back to that standard, you become, this is no good. We have to change everything. Now, Celtic have just had to stay strong. They can't afford to slip up all the way to January the 1st for the Old Firm derby at Ibrox. They have to stay strong, because if not, it's coming straight back at them.
Yeah. And I suppose the domestic troubles would perhaps grate on the fans less if there'd been a better European campaign. I look at a team like FC Midtjylland that's able to get into the group phase of the Champions League and think, if they can get there, surely Celtic can get there. Well,
this is the thing that's always been with me. I mean, I'm not really old school. I'm happy to go with a modern term. I know, being a young Celtic fan at the moment, I had that. I experienced that when I was a kid. I came in when I was born in the 60s, and I came through Jockstein transforming a side who used to come onto the pitch for training and run round the track. And then the following day, they would come in and they would run round the track the other way. That was a coaching. And Jockstein came in and said, guys, believe it or not, this is a ball. These are markers, these are cones, and we're going to do little exercises and being up. Now that's genius. That's genius that he can bring in, he can system and make them all better and give you a reputation. But Jockstein always said the same thing. It was 2 points a win at the time. Beating Rangers is still only 2 points. We're standard bearers is getting our reputation in Europe. Sure, the domestic situation, if we win the league, helps us achieve that for the top competition. But we must keep our reputation in Europe up. And that's what I was brought up with during this 9 in a row. I mean, Rangers had a very strong team then. But we had to accept it then that we were coming to an end. We'd seen something dramatically special. We'd been spoiled rotten with 2 European Cup finals, obviously lost one in 70. So these guys are finding it the same way that I did. Not as stylish, may I say, and that's only my opinion, but they found it the same way, and it's fabulous to watch. But, you know, the way that some of them are behaving and going on about it, that there's a lack of humility. I understand their anger, and sometimes, but a lot of this stuff is only about opinion, and the opinions are getting a bit over the top. But I still firmly believe that Celtic are in the race, but they can't afford a mistake. So it's over to you, Celtic, really.
Yeah, that is obviously the $64 million question, isn't it? Can they reel them in? Can Rangers, if you put enough pressure on them, we'll find out, won't we, whether Gerrard's team have got the bottle to stay the course. Celtic have proved they can stay the course, certainly in years gone by. Can they reel them in? Can they put pressure on them?
The way it's looking at the moment, I have my doubts. You know, I'm not handing the title to Rangers because another slip up, then probably you have to justify it. But I can see a reason for Celtic and the absolute. The one thing that this team has had over the last 4 years or so, especially under Brendan Rodgers and moving on to this current situation, is that their never say die attitude is quite unbelievable. It is. I mean, I truly applaud it. It's absolutely fabulous what they can deliver. But at the moment, they look as if they're confused. The manager's still not sure who he trusts, who he doesn't trust. I'll be getting enough from Edouard. What is the problem at the back with Duffy? The goalkeeping situation has been awkward too. So there's too many areas of confusion there. But I still say if they can get to Ibrox and the gap is not expanded, there's no reason Celtic can't go and win at Ibrox. They've done it before. They can do it again. So that keeps me as a Celtic guy kind of in there with a little bit of hope. But the way they're performing at the moment, even watching the cup final at the weekend, you're behind the sofa like that at the moment going, oh my goodness, what performance are we going to get? So, you know, as it stands right now, I have to be fair, it's only Rangers to give away.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, isn't it? You know better than most. The sense of confidence that an individual, a team, a manager can have once it's lost, it's hard earned, isn't it? It's quite a delicate thing to keep. Once it's there, it's magic. But if you lose it, it's not like you can get it back in a game. You need maybe half a dozen games with the right result and the kind of performances that get everybody on the same page again.
Yeah, no, that is bang on. That what leads to managers becoming insecure or indecisive, more importantly, when they find a formula, which at the start of the season, it was a back three or a back five, whatever way you contribute and look at the game. And that was formed by the loss to Rangers last December. Then they got the break and came back and obviously won the league the way it was given to them, but they earned the league. Whereas now they started the season like that, then they've changed it again. So with some of the players not playing so well, the defensive mix-up being really confusing. There's been a few injury issues here and there, but nothing that I can take that as an excuse, a genuine one. The lack of real goals that we're getting from Edouard for such a quality player. The only bits and pieces we get from Griffiths. Elyounoussi has been very good. Yeah, he's a bit unpredictable. And Christie's been fabulous. My favourite, again, has been McGregor because he keeps some sort of a rhythm going. But no, the way that it stands right now, there's none of us confident in how they're playing and how they're performing. And I think Neil Lennon reflects that with his choices. He's chopped and changed. Duffy's in, Duffy's out. You know, Brown has been in, he's been out, he's running out of legs, he's not controlling the way that he used to do it. So I think because of all that, it does get in Neil's head to say, who can I trust? Who do I pick for this game? Who do I pick for the next game? And that's why you bang on when you say they need a run of 5-6 games, maybe even 5-6 weeks of games, because they're constant.
Yeah.
He's changing it a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised, it's Ross County midweek again, so I wouldn't be surprised if you had another 4 or 5 changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, you at the moment, you're a game away from a crisis. Equally, because of what's on the horizon, you go to Ibrox and you get a result and a performance. And the debate, we're sat here in 2 weeks' time saying, isn't he brilliant? How does he pull that out of the bag? They're back on the front foot. It does. Scottish football has that binary element to it, doesn't it?
It has, even more so because Gerrard's lifted Rangers up to a height that is a proper challenge. And because of that, sometimes we welcome it as Celtic people, sometimes we don't. When he gets to a threatening stage like he is now, I don't enjoy it. You know, I'm quite a nervous viewer. I'm not a very good viewer in terms of following my teams, and when I do that, I find it difficult. And that's what I'm watching at the moment. I'm watching a difficulty. I mean, Rangers getting over the line from being behind against Motherwell. I thought, oh, maybe this is the time.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It sounds as if he's getting them mentally tougher, the way that Celtic have been for years, that they've always had. And I just don't feel the same with the current Celtic side at the moment. We had a bit of evidence again in comeback games, but still to be convinced, you know, it's still hard work and working through this. But, you know, I just hope that the lift from Sunday's game can be the platform that Celtic go on a massive run and change. But you're right, if they were to close the gap and go to Ibrox and win, then we've got League Challenge bang on again. And it changes the format of that. But Celtic have to force it now. And I can honestly tell you, because as a player, when you're playing already having the points in the bag, it's the toughest time, because you cannot afford a slip up, and that's tough. That's big pressure also.
Yeah. And you know what? While I've got you, we could be having the same conversation almost, couldn't we? And just replace Celtic with Arsenal and Lenny with Mikel
Don't go
Arteta,
there.
obviously another of your former clubs. And they're also struggling desperately, aren't they, for confidence, for belief. Whatever they had, they've lost it.
I know. I've had a shocking 6 months, I have to say. I mean, I know there's a lot of other people out there far worse periods than me, but, you know, the 3 teams in my life, Celtic's the first result I look for. I love Arsenal as a club because I love and respect the people who control it. Even when you criticise them, they don't have the hardship or give you the grief that I get in Glasgow, to be honest. And I've always been a massive Barcelona fan. And for the last 6 months, the 3 teams I could guarantee on, I've been pretty poor to say the most, but the biggest disappointment has definitely been Arteta's turnaround at Arsenal. At the start, it was excellent. I was really excited about it. I thought he'll flush these bad defenders out. We know what the problem has been for the last 5 years, and he's still stuck with these defenders. And I think, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? We've got some cracking young players, and Saka in particular, I think, and little Eddie up front will be another star. Martinelli's to come back. Balogun is going to be another young superstar, in my opinion. But we're going to lose these also if we're going to be a mediocre team. And Arsenal have become very mediocre. They are in a relegation struggle because they've never been here before. They've never been down in this pitch before with these type of players that they've got. And some of these players don't look as if they're capable. But Arsenal need massive change, you know. How they've kept Xhaka and how they've kept Mustafi. We still have Callum James. This is not personal. It's only opinion, gentlemen, you know. But it gets to the stage that you've seen it fail and fail and fail, and you think, okay, we take an FA Cup, just like Celtic at the weekend. You're right. You know, we get there and we think, this is wonderful. You win a cup, and then 2 days later you don't feel so good about it again. So things have to change, and they have to change dramatically. But I am definitely an Arteta fan.